Good afternoon. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Eat with Sandhya, day 5. We are at the end of our first week and have literally come running out of a session to join you here today. TGIF, thank God it's Friday, usually means it's a signal for us that the work week has ended and now it's like party time and we can go gangbusters with our food, and this is where sometimes the best laid plans can get completely derailed. So this is where today I'd like to talk about how we handle the weekend and how we stay on point, on track, or whether indeed we need to stay on track for weekends, for events, and also how to navigate like special occasions like restaurants and weddings and travel as well. I want to give a disclaimer right at the beginning. Nothing that I say should take the place of professional advice. Okay, nutritionists, doctors, health providers exist for a reason, that they are able to look at you as an individual and make a very learned diagnosis that is specific to you. All right. So no generic information should ever supplant that. In fact, one of the biggest peeves that doctors have today is our over reliance on Dr. Google, right? But keep in mind that generalized information is exactly that, and often, like I pointed out earlier in the week, Dr. Google can also have a lot of unverified information there. So when in doubt, please get information that's more from a more credible source whenever possible, and wherever you are, look for the next best that you're able to get access to. Right? All I'm working with you on are like first principles, rules of thumb. If you know that these are the basics, then at least you'll know that anything that is in the direction of what we are speaking in is more likely to be on the right track, as opposed to some information that's coming like miraculously from the outside, right? So if somebody were to suddenly tell you today that, oh my God, for a whole week, drink only, what was that diet that had that had you drink Tabasco and cinnamon and cayenne pepper? Okay, there was one of these diets, right? So something like that. If you were to ask yourself, of the rules that we've discussed so far, where does that fit in? Does it fit into the rule of macros? No. Does it fit into calorie deficit? Yes, but like if you go into calorie deficit from requiring 1800 calories a day to consuming 30 calories a day, does that sound about right? Probably not. So, we use these as our building blocks, and then you have to make the choices that you can make in this, depending on the situation that you are in and your preferences. So one was the disclaimer about not disregarding medical advice and advice from nutritionists and professionals. I know that there was something else I wanted to say as well. It's slipping my mind for the moment. Apologies for that. I'm sure it'll come back to me. So how do we handle the weekend? I will talk as I serve myself today. I have a different kind of dal today, and we have, one of the beauty about protein sources is that we have such a wide variety, especially in India, and every shop I go to, and as you start to get, as you start to put feelers out in this direction, you'll be amazed what can actually open up for you. Think of it this way, that you one day woke up and decided that, I think an MBA would be really good for me, and you start thinking about MBA, and suddenly you'll find like the universe is sending you all of these messages about MBA. What actually is happening is that your brain is making the word MBA or the concept of an MBA salient to you, and because it's now salient or important for you, you will be able to observe it in the chatter, in the noise that you would otherwise have drowned out, right? So your next conversation with your mom will be, when your cousin came back from his MBA and now he's graduated, and you're like, whoa, my cousin did an MBA? And he's like, yeah, I've been saying that to you for 2 years. You just didn't hear it because it wasn't salient for you before this. Or you're driving into work and you'll suddenly say, wow, there was an MBA college on my way to work. I hadn't even noticed it. Salience, right? You had sort of you almost had a neural blindness towards it. So similarly for your fitness, you don't need to do a a hell of a lot. Nothing comes without effort, but small things, once you prioritize a few things, you will really start to see opportunities. You'll really start to have conversations in this space, and this can become very much a part of your everyday life without it tyrannizing your life, or something that you feel like you have to put in a lot of effort towards as well. Because keep in mind that the only truly healthy plan is one that's sustainable, and one that doesn't come at the cost of the other areas of your life as well. Right? So today I have some other lentil, which I do not know the name of, but I will certainly be helping myself to it. Gravies can often be a hidden source of a lot of unknown ingredients, right? So when we were talking about how to recognize whole foods, keep in mind that honestly, I don't know what went into this gravy, but I'm going to guess that some of the brown colors from the lentil itself, and the rest of it will probably be ground coconut, maybe ground onions, tomatoes, and a bunch of other spices. Now, again, this was how much oil goes into it. The more you get involved, just be curious, get to know about your food a little bit more, can be greatly empowering in you maintaining your own body balance, your own body budget, right? So if you are choosing to have a slightly heavier gravy, as this one is, if it has coconut, it probably still will be, then you'll know automatically that, listen, I'm aware that I'm consuming higher calorific food, and therefore let me balance this out with a lot more fresh vegetables, or maybe a lighter dinner. You don't have to go gangbusters, and like skipping a meal will, keep in mind, will now affect your hunger and will make the next meal, and it really does confuse the brain as well. If there's one rule that I can tell you for the weekend, it is consistency, right? So in an ideal world, you would be eating over the weekend and every other meal, eating, sleeping exactly as you would during the week. But we know that society is not geared towards that, or is not very forgiving of that. There are people that do it, and that's a choice that they make. It's really the easiest way to stay on track. There are many ways, however, to make it work for you, right? So one is that if you must go out, or if you must stay out late, make sure that you actually do eat something nutritious. One, you're getting all your macros in, and two, you are also going in with a balanced state of mind, right? Because hunger is a very strong cue. It's going to send off alarms in your brain, and that will usually hijack any kind of thinking, logical reasoning that you might be otherwise capable of in terms of making choices. So when you're not going in completely hijacked by your hunger, you can make choices, and this is something that I have been testing out for at least 12 years now. No matter where I have traveled to, no matter what sort of situation I have been in, you can always make choices, right? So whether it's a pub that has a menu full of only deep fried or cheesy foods, you can ask them. All you need to do is say that, okay, you know what, I'd love to have like the skewers maybe, but hold off the cheese, or put the dressing on the side, or rather than deep fried, can you make it steamed for me, or can you grill it for me? Wherever you are, make one better choice, right? Rule of thumb of vegetables will always help you. So if you have the courage to do this, go ahead and ask for those grilled vegetables or steamed vegetables, or even sauteed vegetables as your snack, to at least fill your tummy up a little bit. To it will help with your drinking as well, to bind it. Of the bar snacks that you could be having, pick mindfully on perhaps the nuts, as opposed to like the deep fried chips or the extrusions, all of the saves and the mixtures, and of course the cheese coated snacks, right? Another hack I'd given you was that if there is something that is very cheesy and you're craving that hit of cheese, please do take off some of the cheese and go ahead and consume the rest of it. Again, being aware of what goes into your mouth, chewing slowly, eating mindfully will make you far more aware of your satiety levels, of how much you feel like your body is being nourished, how much you really need. And when you start to value something a lot more, like your healthful efforts, like maybe you've just started working out, you'll become a lot more conscious and aware of what can derail that. and what you're not going to compromise on, right? So say you've just spent an hour sweating it out in the gym and now you're going out with friends. You know how easy it is to undo those efforts, and you're going to really think twice before you eat that a 500 calorie burger, which any kind of workout will be hard pressed to match. Oh yes, I remember now what I wanted to, the second thing that I wanted to tell you about was that if you are looking to go on calorie deficit, if you are looking to lose weight, a very healthy rule of thumb is slow and steady, and that usually relates loosely to half to 1 kilo a week. But again, that weight is a very poor metric for your fitness, right? We will talk about the metrics for fitness next week, for sure. But again, rule of thumb is as long as like one of your measurements, usually around wherever your biggest fat storage area is. Mine is not in my tummy. So again, keep in mind that social media influencers and people like me who are pear-shaped will flash their six-pack and their completely flat tummies to make us feel bad, which is what social media is meant to do. But please be aware that you might have very, very low fat storage on your arms, for example. I have fat storage on my arms and on my thighs. So will I ever have those slim, skinny, thigh gap, whatever, all that? Probably not in this lifetime, and certainly not without liposuction. So pick your metrics. Pick an area where fat storage is high for you, and if you're consistently shrinking on that or getting firmer on that, you know you're on a good wicket. There's several other metrics for fitness which are far more important than body shape and size, which we will discuss next week. So you are now in a pub, you want to drink, you want to have a good time, you want to stay out late, but you also want to stay on point with your health and plan. What are you going to do? Does anybody have any hacks that they're already using that work for them when they go out? So one is what we call in behavioral science, situation selection, right? If you know that you're going to be in a situation where you're going to get completely derailed and you're very particular about your plan, I'll say be brave and just say no, okay? The second is situation modification, right? That I will go for this party, but I don't have to stay till the deep dark end of it. I can choose to go for an hour or 2 hours, and I will leave from the party because there are some things that are more important that I do want to show up for as well. The third is what we call pre-commitment, right? Waiting for you to go into that low body budget, that low willpower. Willpower is like a water filter, one of those that you invert and you draw on it through the day and the levels keep going down. Now, if you decide at 8:30 at night, I'll go there and figure out what I want to eat, how much I'm going to drink, how late I'm going to stay, let me tell you, it's far more likely to not go very well than go well. So pre-commitment, decide beforehand, decide at the top of the day when your executive control is high, what that plan is going to look like. I often quote from language around diving, which is that we never ever jump into the ocean and say, Ram Bharosa, we are now going to dive and figure our way out in the ocean. The ocean is endless. If we keep on diving, we'll probably end up in Antarctica, or much more likely, much worse consequences. So we always have a plan for where we're going to dive, and we try and follow that plan. Do things always go according to plan? 100% no. But if we didn't have that plan, it's almost a given that you're going to get lost along the way, right? So go ahead and make that plan for yourself. That is extremely important, and then try as best as you can. And if that plan, if it doesn't go according to plan, rather than labeling that or yourself a failure, think of yourself as a puppy that you're training, right? When you're training a puppy is going to keep wandering off to what is curious to it, to what is exciting to it, to what is new, to what is pleasurable. And each time you need to pull the puppy back very gently and say, okay, puppy, come back to this point again. Let's take it from here. And you don't go back to zero each and every time. My clients would have heard this 100 times from me. Each time the starting point is a little ahead of where you were the last time. All right? Rarely will anything take you back up to that absolute zero. Hello there. So know that even that little bit of shift, even if it feels like a 1% shift or a 0.5% shift, is still a shift ahead. So wherever you are, make the best choices that you have. In a buffet, it's literally like a smorgasbord. It's like all of the shiny objects, all of the pleasures of the world laid out before you. You can choose consciously to what will give you instant gratification, or you can choose what will give you deeper pleasure. Pick good quality food, even if it's less in quantity. It will be, and even if it's more expensive, lean into these choices, because you know that eventually the joy quotient, the pleasure, the nourishment of it will last you deeper. All right. We're going to be talking about instant gratification when we talk about our relationship with food. But for now, I'll say to you, for the weekend, try and stay as much on habit as you can. One cheat day will usually send your rule of thumb. We know from basic math, a cheat day, which means 3 cheat meals, will usually derail your efforts for the whole week. Okay, so a cheat day is almost never a good idea. A cheat meal also tells your brain that everything is suffering so far, and one meal can be all the things that are important to you. Again, look at how you're thinking of food then, that everything else is horrible and this one thing is the thing that I really want, right? Compare that to having a few spoonfuls of something that you know are just going to give you that pleasure hit, that instant pleasure. But yeah, you know what, I'm consciously choosing to give myself that pleasure hit, but I don't have to derail my whole day with it. So let somebody else order that dessert, let somebody else have those 10 drinks. You can choose very consciously what goes into your mind, your body, and your health. And that is always going to be in your hands. So a weekend, if there is a fail or if there is a non-adherence to the plan, why don't we talk about it on Monday? And I'd love to hear your experience over the weekend. So enjoy Saturday, Sunday, lean into deeper pleasures that you may have lost touch with, whether it's connecting with friends, indulging in a hobby, pursuing something that is of intellectual interest to you or spiritual interest to you, or community service, connection with outdoors, connection with nature. We know that all of these give us a much deeper sense of happiness, joy, and pleasure. So why not claim something that is longer lasting, gives you a lot more bang for buck. So good to see all of you here. Thank you for joining me today. Have a wonderful weekend. My lunch today is again the quinoa salad. So repetition, typically we associate that with boredom. I have another vegetable. I think this is tindley and onions. Again, might not sound very exciting, but because this will have flavors of crunch and new flavorings in it, I'm going to treat it as like something absolutely new. Again, my roti is made of some other cereal. I'm going to say that I don't know but I know, because I have made the choices of what actually gets bought and kept in my kitchen, I know that it can only be one of those 7 or 8 things, right? Or at least in the lines of what it is that I like to eat. So that much I do have control over. Beyond that, I'm just going to trust the process and enjoy my meal. And you do as well. I'll see you on Monday at 1:35 India Standard Time. Bye-bye.